Sure.
Uh, but anyway, my point is that uh, recently there
Mm-hmm.
have been people that have been revealing the truth, and one
Mm-hmm.
of the major truths is that you're still stuck in the same room as your oppressor. You're still in the same house as the guards.
Right.
When you're in that home, you have to
Mm-hmm.
obey those rules,
Mm-hmm.
and you're still the chicken in the coop, and they're
Right.
still collecting your eggs.
Yeah.
And until such time as we see all of our political leaders eliminated, and
Mm-hmm.
all of the what we consider in multinational corporations or institutions reformed,
Mm-hmm.
everything
Mm-hmm.
that you see is still a part of the wall, of a wall, and the bars, and the the wire. You're just seeing everything that's keeping you under control. Now,
Right.
I know that sounds a little bit nebulous, but for example, the price of oil is up, and the price of gasoline is exorbitant for our cars right now.
That's right. 218.
Now, why is that? Oh, we just had a pipeline built between here and the United States, which can supply massive amounts of oil to their refineries
Right.
down there.
That's right.
So why did their president, I think it's called the XL pipeline, why did their president stop that as his first act? I think it was the second day of his presidency. Why is that? Uh,
Well, I think mainly has to do with the fact that the it's all about
It's not, in other words,
control.
it has nothing to do with oil. It has to do with control.
That's
It
right.
has to do with somebody making money. In other words, our
Mm-hmm.
governments do not do anything for us. They do something for themselves and their elite groups. All right.
That's right.
Another example is what's going on in Europe. These people are going to be freezing in the dark very soon. Next month, things are going to get cold. And
Mm-hmm.
why is that? They have all the gas they can possibly need from just right next door,
Mm-hmm.
from their neighbor Russia,
Mm-hmm.
who they were allies with in World War II in order to defeat Nazism. They're the
Yep.
good guys. So how
Yep.
come they're sanctioning the provider of their fuel? That's called biting the hand that feeds you.
Mm-hmm.
And why is that? In other words, people talk about, well, we're in the storm and we're being liberated. Well, that
Right.
liberation is not here now. It's not here yet because we're still being victimized and controlled by outside powers. I mean,
Yes.
outside of our so-called democracies.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's pulling the strings. Somebody's keeping us in deficiency, under stress.
That's right.
Constricting our energy, constricting our food, and constricting our liberty at every step of the way. And they're still doing that.
Mm-hmm.
What are we going to do about it? Well, some people say we should simply eliminate the people responsible for this.
Right.
If we can't put them in court and we can't try them for crimes because they control the courts, then we're just going to have to rub them out.
That's
We're just
right.
going to have to wipe them out. They're just going to have to be eliminated from life on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some people might say, "Oh, that's murder. That's cruel and unusual. Well, there's no process there. They have to stand trial. Blah 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 blah." Well, you can't have a trial if the very institution of your court system is corrupted.
That's right.
It won't work,
Yep.
and we've seen that at every level. And especially when it's something's important. For example,
Yep.
we saw it recently in this country. We saw a pastor winning his court case, but we also saw a bunch of nurses and doctors losing theirs. And in my view, that was important because pastors are not an economically important entity, but doctors and nurses sure are.
Mhm.
Doctors and nurses are the substrate of the control mechanism of our society. But a pastor somewhere is just a what we would call a cultural figure. He's a leader of religion. He doesn't generate billions of dollars every year, so he is allowed to walk
Mhm.
free. He can go back home, and let's just cover it up and not report it in the news. But somebody
Sure.
who's financially important and is part of the substrate of the system of control, doctors, nurses, asking for their jobs back, or in other words, to escape from the mandates or from the medical procedures or the unconstitutional. The laws, which were just as unconstitutional to them as they were to the pastor. Well, no, 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 they're not allowed to win. They're not allowed to have their
Mhm.
freedom because, you see, there is no justice.
Right.
There is no justice. That's a chimera.
Mhm.
And we've been living in nothing about a chimera for a very, very long time. And you think there's two sides. You think there's a white hat in one side of a war and a black hat on the other. No. The very fact that there's a war tells you that it's a manipulated situation designed and fostered by our goalers, our jailers, those that forge our chains and tighten our screws every day.
That's right.
Um, However, public opinion does matter. People
Mhm.
can stand up and refuse. People
Mhm.
can take off their face decorations
Right.
if they so choose. And if there's enough of us that do that, if there's enough of us that realize that everything is nonsense, that there is no justice, there is no equality, and if you want to be reminded of that, you just have to look at the recent charade on public television, where we saw a very old and privileged family demanding millions and millions of dollars in order for them to perform certain rituals to do with their family succession from
Mhm.
a queen to a king.
Right.
Well, are they special? Are they different than us? Are they somehow higher than us? Well, what gives
Nope.
them the right to behave that way? And why should we
Nobody.
care? And why are we so interested in their behavior? And by the way, if you look into their behavior very deeply, it's not very laudable.
Right.
It may actually even be criminal or
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 despicable, to say the
despicable.
least.
Exactly. Thank you for that word.
Mhm.
So why is it that our entire organized society is focusing with some kind of expected veneration on despicable people doing ridiculous things? Why is that? See, as long as this continues, we are still under control. As long as you see that kind of thing all around you, we're not free. And
Mhm.
anyone who tells you that the cost of gas is high because of some other country's actions, or the price of food is high because they can't afford the gas to have the trucks to move the food, all of that is just a further a control example, and none of it
Yes.
is necessary.
That's right.
It's not real. It's not true. It's not based on the fact. For example, here in Canada,
Mhm.
we produce so much oil and gas. It's coming out of our taps practically. We've got
Mhm.
massive amounts of natural gas in northern BC, for example. We've got
That's
massive
right.
amounts of oil in Alberta, for example.
That's right.
So how come it's not 25 cents or even 2 cents a liter? Why is that?
Because someone is controlling us,
Exactly.
controlling the market.
Exactly. It's
Mhm.
nothing to do with reality. And that kind
Nope.
of control has to be overcome. That's the difficulty here. That's the problem here. And
Right.
that's what we have to face. And we're wasting our time if we're getting all excited and upset about the details. Those are just the symptoms.
Mhm.
That's not the disease. The disease
Mhm.
is the control mechanisms that have been in place for thousands of years, which hopefully, and I believe
Mhm.
actually are dissolving and falling apart, and the oppressor becomes visible towards the end.
Right.
Towards the
That's right.
end, when they're fighting desperately to survive, that's when you can see them the most. When they're at their last legs, on their last legs, and when they're breathing and gasping and about to expire, that's when they show their hand,
Yep.
that hidden hand that had us in its grasp for so long.
Stop.
Stop.